Hello everyone, I am Samiksha Kourav, a proud member of Shivi Forensics, and I warmly welcome you all for today's session. Today we are here with a new topic that I'm really excited to share with you. So let's get started and explore this session together. So, the topic of our discussion is forensic psychology understanding criminal behavior. In this session, we will explore how psychology and law intersect, focusing on the role of human behavior in criminal investigations and justice. Forensic psychology plays a vital role in areas such as criminal profiling, courtroom testimony, assessment of offenders, and understanding the psychological aspects behind crimes. So, throughout this presentation, we will cover the key concepts, practical applications, and real life significance or scenarios of forensic psychology. The aim is to build a clear understanding of how behavior is studied, analyzed, and then applied in the field of forensics. Got it? So, I hope you all will find it insightful and engaging. Now, without any further ado, I would like to begin the session with our first slide and start exploring the fascinating world of forensic psychology. So today, let's talk about forensic psychology. Now, first of all, what is forensic psychology? In simple words, we can say that it's a branch of psychology where we apply psychological knowledge and techniques in the legal and criminal justice system. Means psychology plus law together. Got it? So basically, forensic psychology helps us understand things like why crimes happen, what goes on in a criminal's mind, how victims are affected, and even how witnesses recall events. It's all about like studying human behavior but in a legal setting. Did you understand that? Now let's see the focus areas of forensic psychology. The very first point is criminal profiling and behavior analysis. This is where psychologists try to study the patterns, motives, and traits of criminals, right? Secondly, assessment of offenders and victims. For example, checking the mental health of an accused person or understanding the trauma of a victim. Third, expert testimony in court. Sometimes forensic psychologists appear as expert witnesses to explain psychological findings, whatever he or she will find, to judges and juries. Then comes upon juvenile and correctional psychology. This is all about working with young offenders or even helping in rehabilitation programs inside prisons. Another area is competency and insanity evaluations, deciding if a person is mentally fit to face trials or not. Also, they give investigative support like helping police in interrogations or analyzing the reliability of witnesses. Finally, research and policy development to prevent crimes and improve justice systems. So, overall forensic psychology is not only about criminals, it all about victims, witnesses, courts, prisons and even society. It plays a very important role in criminal investigations, fair trials and crime prevention. So, before we understand forensic psychology, it's important to know where psychology itself came from, right? So, let's go back in time. Long ago, people used to believe, and nowadays too, that strange behaviors or mental illnesses were caused by evil spirits or supernatural forces. So, in ancient times, treatments were like rituals, prayers, or even very harsh methods. But slowly, as human knowledge grew, thinkers started asking maybe it's not spirits, it's the mind. Firstly, in ancient Greece, philosophers like Plato and Aristotle began thinking about memory, learning, and behavior. Aristotle even said that the mind and body are connected. But in 17th and 18th century, between that, so philosophers such as Rene Descartes argued that the mind and body both are separate but can interact with each other. This idea gave rise to deeper scientific questions about human thought. In 19th century, psychology started shifting from philosophy to science. Researchers began experiments to study sensations, reaction times, and mental processes. The year 1879 is very important to be noted. Why? Because Wilhelm Wundt, known as the father of psychology, right, set up the first psychology laboratory in Leipzig, Germany. This was the official beginning of psychology as a separate scientific discipline. Did you understand that? Okay, so after one day, different schools of thought developed. First, like structuralism, functionalism, psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and many more, like humanistic psychology or cognitive psychology. Okay, structuralism is like studying the structure of the mind. Functionalism is focusing on how the mind helps us adapt and survive. Psychoanalysis is exploring the unconscious mind, dreams, and inner conflicts. Behaviorism, saying psychology should only study observable behavior, what we can observe in any person, right? And humanistic psychology is like focusing on growth, free will, and potential. The last one is cognitive psychology, studying memory, thinking, and problem solving. And from there, psychology kept evolving. Today, it's applied everywhere: healthcare, education, sports, business, and yes, forensic science too. So now we know what forensic psychology is, how it evolved, and its focus areas, right? But the big question is what? Why is it even important? What's the significance of forensic psychology to understand, right? Let me explain. First of all, forensic psychology is most important because it helps us understand criminal behavior. Just think about it. When someone commits a crime, the law looks at what happened, but psychology looks at why it has happened, and understanding the why is the first step toward prevention. Secondly, it plays a huge role in fair trials. Not every accused is mentally stable, right? Some may have disorders or some may not even know what they are doing. Forensic psychologists assess whether a person is competent to stand trial or whether they were legally insane at the time of the crime. This ensures justice is fair but not blind. Third, it helps in supporting victims and witnesses. Imagine a victim of a violent crime or a child witness. They may be scared, confused, or we can say they are traumatized. Okay, forensic psychologists help them cope emotionally and also prepare them to present their experiences clearly in court. Fourth, forensic psychology is significant in criminal investigations, we all know. From criminal profiling to analyzing suspect behavior, it helps police narrow down suspects, choose the right interrogation methods, and even detect lies or inconsistencies. Fifth, it contributes to rehabilitation and correction. So instead of punishing criminals, forensic psychology helps design programs in prisons that aim to reform offenders so that they don't repeat crimes. And finally, forensic psychology has a societal impact by researching crime patterns, developing policies, and creating awareness. It helps reduce crimes and build a safer community. So, in short, we can say that the significance of forensic psychology is that it acts as a bridge between mind and law, justice and behavior. It ensures not only that criminals are punished but also that justice is served fairly. Now that we have understood what forensic psychology is and why it's significant, let's talk about its scope, where and how it is applied. Trust me, it's a very wide field. Got it? Firstly, criminal investigations, profiling, suspect evaluation. This is probably the most popular area people think of. Forensic psychologists help police by analyzing the criminal's behavior, their motives, and we can say mental state. Okay, so they assist in criminal profiling, predicting the possible traits of an unknown offender, and even guiding interrogations. For example, they might suggest whether a suspect is lying or how to approach them in questioning. Secondly, courtroom applications, competency, insanity defense, witness reliability. So, inside the courtroom, forensic psychologists often serve as expert witnesses. They explain complex psychological issues in simple terms for judges and juries. They also assess things like competency to stand trial, mental state at the time of crime, and credibility of witnesses. Got it? Third, correctional settings. Correctional settings like in prisons or juvenile centers, forensic psychologists work to rehabilitate offenders. The aim is not just punishment but also to reduce repeat crimes. They create counseling programs, anger management workshops, and help inmates deal with mental health problems. Okay. Fourth is victimology. So it's not just about criminal or victims. They are equally important that forensic psychologists support victims of trauma, abuse, or violent crimes. They help them cope emotionally and prepare them to testify in court. So, in cases of children or sexual assault survivors, their role becomes even more crucial. Then understanding about civil cases, right? Forensic psychology isn't limited to criminal cases. It also plays a role in civil disputes like custody battles, divorce cases, harassment cases, workplace discrimination, or personal injury claims, right? Psychologists assess emotional damage, stress, and provide professional opinions that help the court make fair decisions. Next one is policy research, emerging fields that I haven't included in my PPT, but I want you to know about that, like basic only. Okay. So, in policy and research, beyond courts and police, they study crime patterns, evaluate the effectiveness of laws, and suggest reforms. For example, their research can help design better laws for juvenile offenders or victims of sexual abuse, right? And in emerging fields we can say like with technology the scope is growing even more. As we see today, forensic psychology overlaps with cybercrime investigations, terrorism studies, and even artificial intelligence tools, AI tools, right, for detecting deception. So the field is continuously expanding, right? Now, one of the most interesting parts of forensic psychology is trying to understand criminal behavior. Have you ever wondered why do people commit crimes? Is it because they are born criminals or because society makes them that way? Let's explore, okay? So, first of all, criminal behavior is not just one reason. It's actually a mix of many factors like biological, psychological, and social. Okay, so biological factors, some researchers believe genetics and brain functioning play a role. For example, damage to certain parts of the brain can affect impulse control, right? And hormonal imbalances or substances abuse can also increase aggression. Okay, second one is psychological factors. This is where psychology, forensic psychologist plays a big role. Some criminals may have personality disorders like antisocial personality disorder or mental illness that affect their decision making. For example, childhood experiences, trauma, and even low self control can push someone towards crime. Third one is social factors. Environment shapes behavior a lot. Poverty, in unemployment, peer pressure, dysfunctional families, or growing up in violent neighborhoods can increase the chances of criminal activity. Right? Remember, society influences behavior. When we say biological theories of crime, we usually focus on four major areas, right? Genetics, neurobiology, neurochemistry, and hormonal influences, and some more examples. So let's understand each one step by step. Got it? First one is genetics. Some studies show that criminal or antisocial behavior can be partly inherited. For example, research on twins and adopted children revealed that if one biological parent had a criminal record, the child was more likely to develop criminal tendencies if even raised in a different environment, right? So, second one is neurobiology. This deals with the brain structure and function. If certain brain regions are damaged or underdeveloped, they can affect the child's behavior. So, the frontal lobe controls decision making, as you all know, and impulse control. Damage here may cause aggressive and reckless behavior, right? So, coming up on neurochemistry, our brain chemicals called neurotransmitters, right, strongly influence behavior. So, there's low serotonin that is linked with aggression, impulsivity, and mood swings. Second one is high dopamine, that is linked with reward seeking and risk taking behavior, right? And low GABA may reduce the brain's ability to calm down, leading to aggression, right? And for example, many studies found that violent offenders often have lower serotonin levels. That's linked with aggression, impulsivity, and mood swings, right? I already told. So making them more impulsive and aggressive, same thing, right? Fourth one is hormonal influence. As the name suggests, hormonal influence, right? Hormones also plays a role in behavior, where testosterone is linked with aggression and dominance. High testosterone levels may increase violent behavior, and cortisol is a stress hormone, as you all know, I think. So, low cortisol levels may reduce fear, making people less worried about punishment. Okay, and adrenaline, last one, adrenaline imbalances can also affect risk taking and aggression. Example, research has shown that many violent criminals have higher testosterone levels compared to non-violent individuals. Okay. So, if we go to understand these all things in short, so we can say like biological factors like genetics, brain function, neurotransmitters, and hormones can all influence criminal behavior. But remember, they don't act alone, right? Environment, upbringing, and psychology also play huge roles. So, biology may create the tendency, but society and personal choices often decide the outcome. Got it? Then, so we have seen that biology can influence crime, but what about the mind? That's where psychological theories come in. These theories say that the criminal behavior is shaped by personality, emotions, thoughts, and mental processes, right? Let's go through some main ones. First one is psychoanalytic theory, right? Which was given by Sigmund Freud. Freud believed human behavior is controlled by three parts of the mind. Okay, first one is ID, second superego, third one is ego. Okay, for ID, what it suggests that our desires and instincts like aggression and pleasure. Okay, superego, our moral conscience, that what is going right or what is going wrong. Okay, third one is ego, the balance between id and superego. Okay, so if the id is too strong, more desires, no control, or the superego is weak, poor morals, right? A person may engage in criminal acts. Example, someone who cannot control anger impulses may commit violent crimes, right? Second one, we go through personality theory. Okay, so some psychologists believe criminals have certain personality traits that make them more likely to offend, right? Traits like impulsivity, aggression, lack of empathy, or we can say thrill seeking are often linked with crime. Hmm? For example, a person with antisocial personality disorder often ignores rules, laws, and making them more prone to criminal acts. Right. Third, we would go through behavioral theory given by B.F. Skinner. So, according to behaviorist, people commit crimes because of learning. If crime is rewarded like money, power, or respect, a person may repeat it, right? If crime is not punished properly, the person won't stop. For example, a teenager steals and instead of being punished, he gets praise from peers. This reinforcement may encourage him to keep stealing, right? Then, coming upon cognitive theory. This theory says criminals have distorted thinking patterns. They justify their crimes. It's not wrong if I don't get caught, or they deserve it. They may also lack problem solving skills and empathy. For example, a fraudster may convince himself that cheating people isn't wrong because everyone cheats, right? Then coming upon social learning theory, which was given by Albert Bandura. He explained that people learn by observing others, right? If children grow up seeing violence, aggression, or crime being rewarded, they may imitate the same behavior. For example, a child raised in a gang environment may learn that crime brings power, respect, money, so they adopt it, right? And if we go through summary, of this all things. So psychological theories of crime show that criminal behavior often develops due to personality traits, right? Poor impulse control, faulty thinking, or learning from the environment. It's not just about the body biology, right? But also about the mind and how it processes experience. Got it? Now, coming upon psychological risk factors. So, personality disorders, right? Certain disorders like antisocial personality disorder (ASPD) or borderline personality disorder (BPD) are linked with crime. People with ASPD often lack empathy, ignore rules, and act impulsively. For example, a person with antisocial personality disorder may commit fraud or theft without feeling guilt, right? Second point is impulsivity and poor self control. So, here many criminals act without thinking of the consequences. If someone struggles to control anger, desires, or impulses, they are at higher risk of committing violent or sudden crimes, right? For example, a road rage incident turning into physical assault. Okay. Then coming upon low empathy and lack of remorse. Hmm. So here, if a person cannot understand or care about the feeling of others, they may harm people without guilt. This is often seen in psychopaths. For example, a serial offender who shows no regret for victims after committing the crime. Okay, so then coming upon cognitive distortions, this means faulty ways of thinking. Criminals often justify their actions like saying everyone cheats or they deserve it, right? Coming upon childhood trauma and abuse. Early psychological wounds like physical abuse, neglect, or witnessing violence increase the risk of criminal behavior later in life. Trauma can shape negative beliefs and coping strategies. Many violent offenders report histories of child abuse. Then, mental illness. Not all mentally ill people are criminals, but certain conditions like untreated schizophrenia noted, ठीक है? So with delusions or hallucinations or severe depression can sometimes increase criminal risk, especially if combined with substance abuse, right? Then learning from environment. Psychologically, humans learn behavior. If a person is surrounded by crime, gangs, or violence, they may adopt these behaviors as normal. So, in short, we can say psychological risk factors for crime include personality issues, poor impulse control, lack of empathy, faulty thinking, trauma, mental illness, or we can say anything, right? So these don't guarantee that someone will become a criminal, but they increase the chances. That's why forensic psychologists study these factors carefully to predict, prevent, and rehabilitate criminal behavior. Then, coming upon notable case studies in forensic psychology. So here you can see some cases, right? Ted Bundy and Dennis Rader, Nirbhaya case. Okay, so go through them. Moving to conclusion of the topic, so we saw that criminal behavior is complex. It can be influenced by biological factors like genetics and brain function, psychological factors like personality and cognition, and social factors like environment and upbringing, and real cases like Ted Bundy or the Nirbhaya case, as I show. So these all shows the how the factors play out in real life, right? The scope of forensic psychology is huge. Criminal investigations, courtroom support, correctional programs, civil cases, victimology, and policy development, right? This makes it one of the most important fields for making justice fair, scientific, and human. So, in short, forensic psychology doesn't just study crime, it understands human behavior, predicts risk, prevents crimes, and supports justice. And that's why it is so significant for society today, right? Remember, understanding the mind is as important as understanding the law. And that's what makes forensic psychology such a powerful and fascinating field. Did you understand? That's the beauty of this field. It's where psychology helps justice work better, right? So, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session on forensic psychology and learned something new. So, your support means a lot to me. So, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting forensic science topics. If you have any questions or thoughts or any doubts, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for joining and see you in the next video. Stay curious and keep learning. Thank you so much.